So, okay, the other thing we got to talk about, we'll get it back to some MMA here, and it is retirements. It was like, wow, like every time somebody lost a fight, and this goes back to even last week. I think it was last week when Felice Herrig retired after her fight. Yeah, and then this week we had two, right? And then we had Sarah Kaufman, who didn't fight but also retired. So a lot of like people that have been around for a long time, like, I mean, Sarah Kaufman, I mean, literally goes back to when I started watching MMA, like Strike Force challengers. She had the real big fight with Ronda Rousey years ago, and pioneer. Same thing with Felice Herrig. She goes back to Bellator and MTV. Jessica Eye this week. A lot of women, right? And then who is the guy that? Oh, Cerrone. Jeez, the biggest one of all.
Surprised that laughs your brain, considering how much you were messaging me talking about bawling your eyes out over it.
It was allergies, but no, I mean, you know what hit me though was when I just looked at him, and it's like literally like the whole time I've been watching MMA, regularly, I've been seeing Donald Cerrone, because I didn't come in right away. So I used to watch all the free stuff, and the WEC, with Jose Aldo and Cerrone and Pettis and Henderson, like I used to watch that every week. Faber, Garcia, or every month, and they would do, like, you would have the shows every 2 or 3 months, you would have like 2 or 3 titles defended. So if you followed every week, it was almost like pro wrestling, where guys were moving up the card, and like they'd get like 1 or 2 wins and then they'd get a title shot. And it was real easy to follow because they had a small roster. And Cerrone was like one of my first favorites. And then with the way, and then because I was watching everything free, I also watched Bellator. Because and I watched and then the UFC rose. So I saw Felice Herrig before, way before she ever got to UFC. Jessica Eye as well. She was fighting flyweight back in the day. And Sarah Kaufman, I mean, she was one of my early favorites, even more than Rousey, because she was Canadian. So what do you think this is? Like, it's just that time, or is it just there's so much young talent, and these guys and gals are just realizing, this has passed me by?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's saying it's passed me by. You get to a certain point, it's where they always say like your late 30s are your prime, especially when it comes to fighting. And some people, a lot of these people who are retiring, it's just they had a lot of wars in the younger days, and they go through. A lot of these people also went through camps where sparring was more prominent and more, I guess, ferocious. A lot of the new age training, is focused less on hard sparring and more on just techniques and everything. And a lot of it has to do with just, running, having losing skids. Like Jessica Eye, this was her 4th straight loss, and she was 1-5 in her last 6, and she distinctly, she said flat out in her post-fight scrum that she wanted to quit before they cut her. So it's almost like she felt like she was going to get cut. Possibly. So she didn't want to, she's just like, I'll retire before you have the chance to fire me, kind of deal. And she has interest in doing pro wrestling and other stuff, and just, it's a different thing too with women. I feel like women get to a certain age, and if you haven't, if your whole idea is to want to have a family and have kids, and you haven't hit that yet, and you start going through a skid, like with Joanna, it's just, Joanna was another big one here recently. It's just, for women, I think it's a little bit different, if they want to start families, they might get out sooner. For Cerrone, I mean, that guy, I feel like it's time for him. He's been he just fought so much, and it catches up to you. And he's winless in his last 7, but he was a massive star. He's arguably one of the top 3 stars to never win a UFC title. Top 3, top 5. Guys like Faber. The Diaz brothers, they never won UFC titles, those guys, I brought up Benavidez, Benavidez is probably not big name, but best, but anyway, yeah. And Cerrone said he's off to be a movie star. He's been doing a lot of acting lately and just all that. He also mentioned in his post-fight scrum that maybe in a year or two I'll get the itch. So he kind of left the door open, and he's one of those guys where if he's got nothing going on and he decides he wants to fight, he'll fight basically with no notice, kind of deal. But yeah, we're seeing a changing of the guard, and everybody, there's a lot of these people, the whole back in my day thing, and they want, who were hardcore viewers 10, 11 years ago who get away from it and they get back in now and they're like, I don't know any of these people. So they stop watching, and it's just, yeah, a lot of your guys from that back in the day, they're not going to be around much longer. And, it's a new wave coming through. So, it was time for both.
Watch them while you can. As I've talked about on the show, I generally, I start watching these shows on a delay, and then I fast forward through the entrances and the commercials and everything so I can catch up. And I had a feeling I didn't want to fast forward through Donald Cerrone's entrance this time. So I did watch it, and, it was the last time I was going to see it. I didn't know that, but, you kind of had a feeling, that, if he doesn't win, this could be that. And either way, it's going to be one of the last times anyways. I was just looking at Sarah Kaufman's record because I knew she hadn't been in the UFC in a long time. I mean, she lost to Valentina Shevchenko by split decision, and then she got cut. And she won 5 of her last 6 fights. And the one she lost was by decision to Larissa Pacheco, who is, she's the number 1 seed in the PFL tournament over Kayla Harrison. She's no shakes. And she beat Pani Kianzad. She beat Jessica Rose Clark. She probably had some gas left in the tank. She won her last fight by first round stoppage, but I guess she's getting out, and maybe it's the family thing like you talked about. I don't know. That one surprised me.
Yeah, it's probably easier.
But, maybe
it's probably easier for somebody like her in her situation where she's just fighting on the regional scene right now. She's not with any big promotion, so if no big promotion is showing any interest in signing you, and you're at that age, maybe it's the sign.
And maybe if someone, and with her, if someone, calls her up and says, hey, we need an opponent, and, you get $50,000 or something, then maybe, okay, maybe I'm unretired for tonight or for for this camp. But yeah, so that was, I just thought that was interesting. I was scrolling through your column and, all these retirements, and it even hit me, you can kind of see it, when the fight's over and they're reading the decision, and then they're taking off their gloves, and, and Joe is he's trying to interview the winner, but he's looking over to the side. And even Jim Miller, I thought it was really classy, and you pointed it out too in our private conversation we have over DM, that Jim Miller stepped aside and let Cerrone have his moment before getting on with his regular post-fight interview. I thought that was really classy.